Welcome to the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast. I'm Joy Taylor. You can catch us Monday through Friday at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific on FS1. Here's what this podcast is all about. It's an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the day's show, and there is a lot to get into in today's podcast. Shannon believes the loss of KD will be a big deal for the Warriors. Skip says once again after last night, Russell Westbrook is pulling away in the NBA MVP race. Friend of the show, Glenn Big Baby Davis, comes back to explain his criticism of Clippers head coach Doc Rivers and chimes in on why it might be personal between himself and Doc. Former teammate of Adrian Peterson, Greg Jennings, is here to lend some insight on where Peterson will land and claims no doubt he will be ready to go. Plus, Hall of Famer Chris Carter is here to talk about what can be done to relax the penalties for touchdown celebrations and gives a special shout out to his boy, Antonio Brown. Skip and Shannon, let's debate.
How are you, Joy?
Hey, Joy. I love it. That's nice flowers. That's very springish. I mean,
Yep.
Getting into the...
I'm done with the winter. I'm ready for the sunshine. Let's do it.
Well, are you done with Kevin Durant? That's what I want to know.
I don't know if Kevin Durant is done with this season. Let's find out. Let's start with the big injury news with the Warriors. Kevin Durant hyperextended his left knee last night when teammate Zaza Pachulia was knocked into his leg earlier in the first quarter. Durant left the game a couple of possessions later. He had an MRI last night. The Vertical's Adrian Wojnarowski says the fear is he's out for months, not weeks. After the game, Steve Kerr and Draymond Green talked about Durant's injury. Let's take a listen.
At the end of the day, we're not going to act like he died, and we don't even know what happened. What's going on. Like, you got to know something before you can kind of go along those lines. We really don't know much right now.
I'm always concerned about any injury because you never know how bad it's going to be. So we'll just wait and see and keep our fingers crossed.
Skip, what was your reaction to the injury last night?
Man. I had the game on. I was watching. I thought pretty carefully, and I didn't think this was a big deal initially. Mm-hmm. In fact, I started to tweet about it, and then I thought, it's not that big a deal. Just let it go because I don't really know what's happening, but it appeared not much happened. So let's get this straight. Gortat pushed Zaza, and he fouled Zaza, who fell back into Kevin Durant. But he didn't crash into him. He didn't hit him full force into a planted left foot, right? He bumped into Kevin's then hyperextending knee, but it wasn't all of Zaza full force against the planted left foot, which can be just disaster, right?
Correct.
Kevin was able to hop away from it, to jump back enough. I didn't think he took full force. And in fact, he stayed on the floor for 2 more possessions before he asked out of the game, but even though he limped off and limped to the locker room, he did so completely under his own power. So he didn't need a couple of assistants to help him off. And I went to bed last night thinking, well, at worst case, this could be torn cartilage, which would require minor arthroscopic surgery, and he'll be back in a month, say, at max, and he will be full bore, ready to go for the playoffs. And then I wake up to the fact that several of the veteran reporters said it was as somber a locker room as they've ever seen from these Golden State Warriors, that they all stayed, or most of them stayed in their game jerseys, even until the point the media got let in, because they were all just sitting, looking at each other and also studying their phones as if something bad had really happened.
Could it be because of the unknown? Because they don't know?
They don't know, but Kevin had already left to go get an MRI,
Correct.
Which was probably a bad sign. And as you step back from this, then the reports are starting to surface this morning that it could be the worst case scenario, and I'm going to have to guess on this, that it would be torn ligament, torn patella tendon in the hyperextension, something that would cause Kevin to miss the whole season. But I'm still surprised because it did not look like a season-ending kind of blow to the knee. Is that the way you would have seen it from a football perspective?
I didn't think patella, Skip, for the simple fact normally when someone tears their patella, it's a lot of force. Either the force is down, you're making contact with the ground, or you're planted and somebody makes contact. Mm-hmm. And like you said, he was able to somewhat get his foot off the ground.
Jump back.
Right. He didn't take the full blow because he saw Zaza falling, but he was like, and then last second it caught him. But it could possibly be you hate to speculate, and I really don't want to speculate, but I tell you this, Kevin Durant gives you 25, 8, and 5. Where are they going to get that from?
Not from Matt Barnes. But they did jump right out and sign Matt Barnes as a kind of a desperation fill-in emergency move. And I'm not sure they would have made that move. And Matt Barnes,
unless something
indicated on social media, this is for the rest of the year.
Right.
So it must be pretty serious.
Because Skip, what it does, it changes the dynamic of this basketball team. See, when you got Kevin Durant at the beginning of the season, you anticipated having him for the entirety of the season. So you depleted your bench. Brandon Rush is gone, Barbosa is gone, Azealia is gone, Bogut is gone. So what was your strength was your bench. You gave that all up to get Kevin Durant because you say, you know what he can give us. He can give us Harrison Barnes production and also Barbosa. So we can get those 25 the points to 16, 14, 16 that Harrison Barnes was giving you, and Barbosa's giving you, 8 to 10 a night. So that's the 25. We can make that up. But what they don't realize is that Kevin Durant, because he's 7 foot tall, 7'6" wingspan, he was better defensively for the Golden State Warriors than he ever was for the OKC Thunder. People don't realize this. They lead the league in block shots.
They do.
With really not a shot blocker on their team. You think of DeAndre Jordan, you think of Gobert, you think of those guys as shot blockers, but they lead the league in shot blocks. They're number 2 in defensive rank. So, Skip, but it's a blessing and a curse. And you hate to say, being injured is a blessing. But the fact of the matter is that they have time. Now, if he had gotten hurt right before the playoffs started, and you're having to go into the playoffs to try to find out what you're going to do. Now, when he missed the game Saturday night against Brooklyn, McCaw started. I believe that Steve Kerr will stay with that lineup because he doesn't like to upset his bench. He likes Iguodala coming in. He loves Sean Livingston coming in at the same time off the bench. So I don't think he would change that roster spot. But what this also does, the nights that Clay and Steph didn't have it going, Kevin Durant could have it going. He'd go get you 30 or 40. The margin of error is condensed now. So they have off nights, they're going to lose. Whereas before, if one of those guys or both of those guys have an off night, Kevin Durant go get you 38, go get you 40, and you win the ball game. The margin of error is a lot smaller, and it's dragged a lot of teams saying, you know what? You got a chance now, Skip.
So let's just be real about this. They just lost a man that I have over the last month been advocating should have at least have been in the MVP discussion.
Yes.
I'm not saying he's the MVP, but he should be top 5, maybe top 4 or 3.
Whoa. How about top 6 or 7?
No, top 5.
Hold on.
Okay, wait a second. The Golden State Warriors are still the best team in basketball with Kevin Durant.
Yes.
He leads them in scoring. He leads them in rebounding. He leads them in block shots. And he leads them in field goal percentage. And you're telling me that's not an MVP top 5? I'm sorry, it is.
Let me ask you this.
Wow.
Okay, maybe you're right. Okay, is he in front of Westbrook?
No.
Is he in front of Harden?
No.
He's in front of LeBron?
Yes.
See,
He is. Which team has a better record?
What about Kawhi?
Huh?
Is he in front of Kawhi?
Which team has the better record? Which team has the better record?
Well, again, he's top 5. You said he won top 5.
I give him
That's
top
debatable.
5. I give him okay.
I'll put him ahead of Kawhi for this moment.
No, you put him ahead of Kawhi because you want to put him ahead of LeBron. I would go, okay, he's top 5. So you put him in there with Kawhi, LeBron, and all those other guys.
Well, the point is, this is a huge loss if, in fact, it's a season-ending loss for Kevin Durant.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. You make it seem like this team has never played without Kevin Durant before.
Okay.
Now, they integrated him in early, but like I said, they have 22 games left. They have an opportunity to move down the stretch, get their rotation, how they want to have it set, and move forward.
Okay, but give me a good day and mate. Just give me one, because you're the best. You speak Australian now. And guess what?
Did he sign?
Yes, that's what the reports are, that he's signing with Cleveland. Good day, mate, is no longer with Golden State. Festus Ezeli from the best school in America, Vanderbilt University, is no longer with Golden State.
Oh, the one that blew that 19-point lead last night?
Harrison Barnes, who is about to lead the Dallas Mavericks into the 8th playoff spot, is no longer with Golden State. So you made the point, they don't have Barbosa. They don't have the depth anymore.
Rush. Yeah.
This is all of a sudden a very different basketball team than the one that was up 3-1 over LeBron's team in the finals last year.
Skip, we tracked them down. I keep saying we. I gotta get out of that habit, Joe. This is like
Yes, you do.
You were out there on that court,
the
right?
Cavs The Cavs
Yeah.
tracked them down from a 3-1 deficit, having to win 2 games on Golden State's floor. But, Skip, they have 22 games left. Steve Kerr will have a chance to sit his rotation.
He will.
Now, like I said,
and I can't wait to see Matt Barnes in that rotation because he averaged in 54 games for Sacramento, 8, 5, and 3. 8 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists. That's not exactly Kevin Durant's replacement, but go ahead.
But here's the thing, though, Skip. Where are you going to go at this present time and go get 25, 8,
Nowhere.
and 4?
Nowhere.
Exactly.
And by the way, just a quick aside, Matt Barnes, I think Instagrammed, I think it was on Instagram, that this is the happiest day of his life outside of his kid's birth. But that's kind of disrespectful to Kevin Durant. Just me, it's like sort of the wrong place, wrong time to make that statement publicly. Happiest day of my to return to Golden State, obviously, where he played from, 06 to 08. Anyway, but that's Matt Barnes. He's never one for saying the right thing at the right time.
I was watching last night? I was watching this team from Nashville, Tennessee. They were up like 19 points.
Are we going to go there?
I just, Skip, I can't watch a basketball game.
They don't have Malik Monk on their team.
Can I watch a basketball game, Skip? I didn't mention, I said a team from Nashville, Tennessee. Is that the only college team in Nashville?
You should have been watching Russell Westbrook. We'll get to that.
I watched that too.
You should have been watching.
I did.
Well, as Skip mentioned, after Durant's injury last night, Golden State made a move to sign the veteran forward Matt Barnes. Barnes was released by the Kings last week. So, Shannon, can the Warriors win it out if Durant is out for the year?
They can, but it became more difficult. And the most dangerous animal is the animal that's injured. Now, if you just think that you're going to waltz into the Oracle or when they come to your building, that you can just throw the ball out there and they're going to roll over, you better think again. Because this team won 73 games without Kevin Durant. This team won 65 games without Kevin Durant.
Yep.
They still have 3 All-Stars. They still have 3 All-NBA players.
They do.
They still have the 2-time reigning MVP.
I hear you.
Last time, which the selection was unanimous.
Yep.
So they are a very dangerous, they are a very talented team. Now, Kevin Durant cuts into that depth because now you get a bench player having to go into the starting role. And so now you're going to have to ask Iguodala to play more minutes. Sean Livingston is going to have to play more minutes. David West is going to have to play more minutes. But I tell you what, Memphis said, hold on. We beat the brakes off you guys with Kevin Durant. San Antonio says, hold on. Do y'all remember what happened? We blew the doors off you with Kevin Durant on opening night.
29 points.
Houston, we're going to talk about Daryl Morey. Their general manager says, hey, he made the comment that we can beat the Warriors prior to Kevin Durant going down.
Yep.
Skip, I think it gives a lot of teams confidence now. Because whereas before, you're like, okay, really? Do you really have a chance? Now, I think San Antonio, Greg Popovich was blowing smoke. He's like, they're far superior to everybody. But I think deep down, he actually thought, we can beat this team. We've beaten them before. We can definitely beat them again. But now, they're not the favorite. If you had to bet money on something that meant something to me, I would probably take Popovich's team.
Would you really?
I probably would, yeah.
Ooh.
But it doesn't matter. Because it doesn't matter. Because the king of Akron is coming.
Oh.
The king of Akron is coming. He's coming.
You finished?
I'm finished and I'm done.
Good. I think your team is done, as in the Kings team is about to be done.
Skip.
So my first thought last night, just before I went to bed, was, gee, what if Kevin Durant is really hurt? And my first thought was, that LeBron James, he's the luckiest. He's the LOAT. He's the luckiest of all time.
Your team benefits the most.
Hey, wait a second. That was when I had my second thought.
Yeah, okay.
Wait a second. What if my team now gets past Golden State? Because this has been a rock, paper, scissors sort of a competition here, because my team does not match up great with Golden State. Even though they won by 29, I'm throwing that out. It was opening night with Kevin Durant. They didn't know who they were quite yet. I'm still not sure they knew, even with Kevin, who they were quite yet. And Steph continues to struggle as the closer of this team, and he had a wide open 3. It was a deep 3 last night at Washington to pull that game out after they came from.
What were they thinking on that possession?
Okay, but he missed it, and he's starting to. He's again 2 for 9 from 3 last night. So
after going 0 for 11,
you got it. So then I start thinking rock, paper, scissors. Well, guess what? My paper can cover the rock. Isn't that how it works? Paper covers rock. That is the Kings team, because my team just has the Kings number, because Kawhi Leonard has the Kings number. And he had the Kings number on, what night was it? Back on January 21st at Cleveland. Remember that game? I don't know how they did it, but Kawhi and company pulled it out against LeBron and Kyrie and Tristan, all of the above on the national stage on Saturday night, national TV. My Spurs won in Cleveland. It took overtime. It shouldn't have gone to overtime, but they still pulled it out convincingly, I thought.
It was not.
Yes, it was. It was convincing. So my Spurs have now won 9 of their last 11. Gasol has come back from injury. I told you Dwayne Dedmon has emerged as a shot-blocking, rim-protecting, rebounding force.
Machine.
10 rebounds a game over the last 11 in which he has started for Gasol. And all of a sudden, my Spurs, wait a second, they lead the NBA in three-point shooting at 40%. As a team, they shoot 40%. And in the three-point shooting era, that's really good because that's a key to winning a championship. And my Spurs, even though they haven't been great on defense, are starting to peak on defense. They're second in the NBA in points allowed. That's a nice combination. 40% you shoot from three and you allow the second fewest points in the NBA. I'm liking my Spurs, and I always love my Spurs against the Kings team. And I can't wait for this NBA Finals if, in fact, my Spurs can get by a still, to your point, really good Golden State team that's not nearly as good as it was with Kevin Durant. The door has not opened this much. It's opened about that much for my San Antonio Spurs to get back to another matchup against the King. And the last time we saw the King versus the Spurs in an NBA Finals, he got blown off the floor by a record margin. It's LeBron. He's the greatest. All I ever hear, he's the greatest player on the planet. The greatest player on the planet got blown off the floor by a record finals margin.
Okay.
Go look it up, Shannon.
Skip, why is it when they lose, it's LeBron, he's the greatest player? But when they win...
That's all I hear on the show.
Okay, fine. Hold on just a second.
He's the king.
Just a second. But when they win... Ray Allen saved him. Kyrie Irving saved him.
Ray Allen did save him. He was the greatest clutch
So why
shot
didn't
I've ever seen.
why didn't he save him when they got blown out in that record margin? Why didn't he save him then?
You know what? LeBron missed the tying three so badly, he LeBricked it. It bounded off the back of the rim so badly.
But he hit 3 in the fourth quarter.
It bounded clear out to Chris Bosh, who kicked it into the corner. And here we go again. Ray Allen saved his legacy, LeBron's legacy.
You know what? This is what I'm telling you right now. Since you talking jive, the Cavs will take the Spurs in 5.
I'm talking truth.
How about that?
5?
How about that?
You want to bet on it right now?
What? First of all, y'all not going.
Y'all are going.
Y'all
are going. Y'all are going.
No, y'all
the
not
door
going
just opened. Y'all is coming through the door.
You know what?
Here come y'all.
And Steph Curry about to say, hey, you know what? That door is wide open.
Yeah.
As soon as Kawhi step foot in that door, Steph Curry gonna slam it right on his foot.
You know what? Kawhi's a better player than LeBron James. I'm sorry. He can do it all.
What can LeBron do?
LeBron can't shoot. He's like a 40% three-point
Let me ask you a question. Who has a better field goal percentage?
I don't know.
You know.
Look it up. I didn't look it up before the show.
Skip.
I just know if they go head-to-head, who gets the best of whom, and it will be Kawhi will get the best. He can guard LeBron. He's big enough, he's long enough, he's quick enough, he's savvy enough, he's nasty enough to guard LeBron James. He always makes it hard on LeBron.
LeBron is a career 27, 7, and 7 guy.
What happened that night on January 21st? LeBron had 7 turnovers in that game, and guess who forced them? Kawhi Leonard.
I have a bit of news, you guys. ESPN's Jeff Goodman is reporting that Durant will be back for the playoffs.
Really?
Yes.
Wow. Well, that could change it.
Hey, you the one that got all happy, talking about the Spurs gonna do it. Spurs. Nope.
Well,
come on, KD, get healthy.
It's an ongoing situation, and we'll keep you updated throughout the day.
KD, quick.
That is the latest update from ESPN.
You need him to be healthy.
The king of Akron.
You got a much better chance if he's healthy.
The king of Akron?
Yeah.
Tough as nails.
You know what? I think LeBron just faith healed Kevin Durant. I do, somehow. He sent vibes. He called somebody.
Cavs in 5.
Cavs in 5 over the Spurs or over Golden State?
Spurs, your team.
No mercy. Westbrook had his 30th triple-double of the year in last night's win against the Jazz. Westbrook finished with 43 points, 11 rebounds, and 10 assists, and he scored 12 points in a 2-minute stretch late in the fourth quarter to lead OKC to a comeback win. Skip, did Westbrook take the MVP lead last night?
Joy, Shannon.
Yep.
After what I witnessed last night, especially in the last 2 minutes of that game, Russell Westbrook is running away with the MVP. I'm going to say this again for about the 12th time on this show. In all my years of watching and covering the NBA, I have never, ever seen anything like what Russell Westbrook continues to do night after night after night for the Oklahoma City Thunder, who, by the way, are the worst three-point shooting team in the NBA, and you shouldn't be able to be 35-25 with the worst three-point shooting team, and that's what they are right now, as they have crept up on that 4 seed that I keep telling you they are going to win before this is all over, that coveted 4 seed. Last night, Russell Westbrook went beyond the beyond. He took it up to even another level. He was playing against the team they are chasing in that 4 slot, the Utah Jazz, the #1 defensive team in the league. I believe you made an offhand comment about Rudy Gobert, the Stifle Tower. Was he going to, do this to Russell Westbrook, lock him up? Right? Isn't that what you said? And you know what? You had a point. But you had a point, because that's what he does to that's what they do to everybody. And Russell Westbrook led Oklahoma City against a team that allows 95 points a game to 109 points in regulation, against a team that is #2 in fewest fast break points allowed, 10.8 a game. Russell Westbrook led Oklahoma City to 22 fast break points. Russell Westbrook last night scored 12 points in the last 2 minutes. And I'm going to remind you.
Scored the only points.
The only points. But Joe Johnson hit a jump shot that put Utah up 4 with 48 seconds left in Oklahoma City. And I sat back and said, man, this is going to be tough. And what did Russ do? He went right down and hit a cold-blooded three-point shot. And he isn't the best three-point shooter, but when the money's on the table, bottom. Then we go to the other end. Gordon Hayward missed a 3, and guess who got the rebound? Russell Westbrook. And guess who wanted to call timeout? Billy Donovan stood up to call timeout. And Billy said after the game, I thought better, because I realized Russ was on the move up the floor. And he kept coming and coming and coming. And he went all the way to the bucket and one on George Hill. It was a close call, but George just didn't get his feet set, because you can't get your feet set against this whirling dervish that is Russell Westbrook. And boom, that was it. That just changed the game. That was an and one, a three-point play. And I'm going to remind you, Russell Westbrook did that last night without his sidekick. There was no Victor Oladipo, who was out with back spasms. And I'm going to remind you that Russell Westbrook, just back on January 23rd, he beat this same Utah team at Utah with a last-second jump shot. What more do you want? This is MVP, MVP, MVP. Last night, Westbrook rises, Durant fell. That's the way it came across by the end of the night.
Man got hurt. Man played
a
couple of minutes, Skip. Skip, I believe he did. He surged back into the lead, but I believe this MVP race will go back and forth.
But you're going to actually give him this one night?
Yeah.
Wow. Shannon Sharpe.
If he can get, now, I've said all along that I felt maybe if he got really, really good and they, players played really well around him, he could get to the 6th seed. But right now, I'm going to hold firm. I say they're going to finish in the 7th slot. But, Skip, what I saw last night, and I don't want to take anything away from what Russell did, 43, 11, 11, it speaks for himself. But Utah, you're not going to make anybody else attempt a shot? You're not going to even attempt to trap him and get the ball out of his hands?
You can't. He's untrappable.
Can is the inability to do something. You have the ability to do it.
Everybody tries to trap him. Who else is stopping?
No, Skip. You don't junk your defense at the beginning of the game to try to take the ball out of his hand. But in this situation, when you're up, say 3 points or 4 points with you, take the ball out of his hands. Skip, he wasn't even looking for anybody else. It got to the point that Adams was setting the screen, and then they came with double screens to let you know, all we got is screeners. It's Russell, it's 1 on 5. Okay, what y'all gonna do about it?
But remember, the turning point is the cold-blooded 3 hits, and that's just from the deep wing. He just dribbles over. What are you gonna do? How are you gonna stop that?
What was George Hill thinking?
He's not the best three-point shooter.
George Hill running around out there like he's Wile E. Coyote. Like, what? George!
George Hill's a good defensive player.
I can't tell.
Well,
he wasn't last night.
Hey, you're up against a force of nature.
Take the ball out of his hand. What will be? Let me ask you a question. Let's go for the defense perspective. What does Coach Belichick always do? He takes the ball away from the best player. You never say, oh, Coach Belichick can't do that, because you can. You trap him, and if somebody else, if Steven Adams hits a 14-footer or 18-footer to beat you, you live with it. If Sabonis, if Taj Gibson, Robertson, if they hit those shots, Skip, you live with it. If you're going to go to their second and third option, if your second and third option beats me, Skip, I'm going to walk to the center court. Hey, man, that was a heck of a game. Good job. See you down the road. I'm not letting that guy beat me.
This is the best defensive team in basketball, and you're saying they don't have a clue on defense?
What part
I
about
think
it?
they got more clues than anybody except San Antonio.
Skip.
You can't stop him.
The guy was white hot. He was not looking to pass the ball.
By the end of the game, he's dribbling between double teams. He's unstoppable. He's unguardable.
Well, look, the way they was watching him the last 2 minutes of the ball game, they should have bought a ticket, because they weren't playing defense, they were just watching. So get up in the stands and watch him do what he does.
So now the Utah Jazz have turned into the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. What were they thinking?
Skip.
Tom Brady. That's what they were thinking.
Now, you would have said the same thing had that been the other way around. Let San Antonio.
It wasn't the other way around.
Why would you not double team him? Why would you not take the ball out of his hands? If your second tier guy beats me, if your third option beats me, Skip, I can't guard. I can't put 2 people on everybody when I only have 5 on the court. I'm saying I don't want Russell to beat me, especially with the season that he's having. You know, on a given night, in a given moment, he can run off 12. He can run off 20. Because remember, he had 18 in the first quarter. So that lets you know he can get hot in a hurry. But you running around there. And Rudy Gobert, he went to the rack one time on Rudy Gobert. And Skip, in the place that I live, I can't open my bedroom window. Because after I saw him lay that ball up on Gobert that's 7 foot 10 inches tall, I'd have threw my TV out.
Threw it out the window? You shouldn't do that. That'd be a bad idea.
I would have thrown it out the window. Skip, Russell Westbrook is 6'. I'm going to give him 6'3". Rudy Gobert, Skip, he could block out the sun if he raised his hands. And Russ went to the basket on him and laid the ball in. And he
did.
Boy, I said,
So you're mad at Utah because they made you look bad for doing this about Russell Westbrook, right?
I'm not mad.
It sounds like you're mad.
Animals get mad. Humans get upset. I am disappointed. I'm disappointed.
Humans don't get mad?
No, animals get mad.
I didn't know that.
Humans get upset. I am disappointed.
News to me.
I am disappointed that that Utah refused to trap or double team Russell and take the ball out of his hands. That's what they do. Come playoff times, they do it all the time. If a guy gets hot, they trap him, make him give the ball up. Why would they not make him give the ball up?
Doug McDermott scored 16 last night. All of a sudden, why? They got another weak side shooter.
If Doug McDermott is so good, why did Chicago let him go?
Well, I don't know, because the Thunder stole him. And Taj Gibson.
So now, look, unless he's Boogie Cousins, he was causing problems in Chicago. Maybe he kicked D. Wade's car. Maybe he slapped Jimmy Butler or something. Maybe he said something to Coach.
I don't think so.
I don't think so either. So they got rid of him for a reason. Now, if he had Boogie Cousins' past or transgressions on the court, I can see. But for all we know, Doug McDermott is a model citizen.
I think he is.
But he's in OKC now.
Yeah,
for a reason.
He had a model 16 last night.
He'd had to have 18 or 20 because Russell was not going to beat me, and they allowed Russell Westbrook to beat him. Utah.
So who's the MVP right now, Shannon Sharpe?
Russell Westbrook.
Thank you. We got that on tape.
But after tonight, it'll be LeBron. Because you know he's going to run through the Celtics, Skip. You already know this.
LeBron's going to be the MVP. How? His PER is like 10th in the league. Really?
Look at that resume.
Westbrook.
25, 9. Skip.
Come on now.
Skip.
Westbrook, number 1 PER, LeBron 10th.
Let LeBron is averaging shooting about 15 shots a game. Let LeBron shoot 24 times a game with his average. How many points is that, Skip? He's averaging 25. He shoot an extra eight times, makes 4 of those. That's an extra 8 points. So that's 33 he's averaging. And if he wanted to fight Tristan Thompson and Kevin Love for every crumb that comes off the basket.
Well, he doesn't need to. He has all that help now.
Say it.
He has all the help now.
Put your chest out, Joy.
Westbrook's doing it on his own.
Wait a second. Poor LeBron didn't have enough help.
He
He didn't have enough help.
Skip.
He could have helped himself. That's what you just admitted He could have helped himself. He could have shot more. He could have rebounded more.
No. He don't need to shoot. Skip.
Oh, he don't need to shoot.
Skip.
Okay.
Why do you act as if LeBron asked for Chris Paul or he asked for a
I think he did ask for Chris Paul and Melo, and he didn't get him.
He got D. Will. D. Will said, "This is home.
D.
This is what
Will.
he's a great leader. This is and Bogut.
Where there's a D. Will, there's a way, right?
Good day, mate. I mean,
Good
Cleveland.
day.
Well, Westbrook is now 1 triple-double shy of Wilt Chamberlain for the second most in a season, and he's 11 away from Oscar Robertson's
I mean,
record.
you get 40 triple-double, Skip. I don't know how you not give the guy the MVP.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
Well, then it's
That's
a done
very
deal.
reasonable out of you, Shannon.
No mercy.
No question that Adrian Peterson's back. Peterson! Watch out! Adrian Peterson! You just can't bring him down. And Peterson will go the distance. Adrian's to the 30, the 20. Out of the loose! Touchdown!
Man, is this guy something.
The Vikings declined to pick up their option on Adrian Peterson yesterday. Peterson will become an unrestricted free agent when the new league year starts on March 9th. We're joined by Greg Jennings. Welcome, Greg. You're a teammate with AP in Minnesota. Good to have you. How much time does he have left?
I don't know. I don't know how much time he has left. I know it's our job to be able to say what we think, but here's the thing. With a guy like Adrian Peterson, his mindset, his approach to the game, to his work ethic, to his regimen in the offseason is second to none. I do know that. So I know that he will be ready to play. I know that he's one of the mindset that if you doubt him, he's going to try to prove you wrong. If you bet against him, he's going to bet on himself to win. His dollar amount, it was too high. It was too high.
Almost 18 million?
18 million. It was too high. And I truly believe that he has something left. What left? I don't know. It's left to be seen. Only he'll be able to show us that. I definitely think the Vikings did what was best in the best interest of their organization, because when you watch their offense, they were better. They were more well-rounded. They were more diverse when it came to play calling, because they didn't feel tied to getting him the ball, turning around and handing the ball off to him. I don't think that he can carry a load. He's not a third down guy. He's not catching the ball out of the backfield. Right. So he's limited, but he still puts doubt.
Yeah, Adrian Peterson.
Exactly. He's still 2'8", and you still have to account for the potential that you know is still there.
And he's still in the weight room probably as we
Absolutely.
speak, right?
Absolutely.
Here's what happens, Skip, as you become older. Because the team that you played for, they took care of you now. No practice, no preseason. You go to another situation.
Yeah.
That's not always the case.
Very true.
So now you go from not having to practice for the last 7 years. You haven't had a preseason carry in 8 years. Now what? See, what happens with Adrian Peterson is that when you when you're young, it's no problem. But as you get older, your ability to process information quickly, it starts to slow down. And when you're not practicing, now all of a sudden you just go in the game where you basically going from a standstill to 70 miles an hour.
Yep.
And when you're younger, it's easier to do that. But as you get older and those reaction skills starts to slow down, all of a sudden the hole that he would hit and he's got 14 yards, now all of a sudden he's a little slow getting there and it's a 3-yard gain. So he's going to have to weigh that. He's going to have to land. Look, this is what I'm used to.
Yep.
And a guy that's in his situation, he's used to not practicing. It's a whole different ball game, because you take a couple of practices off, you're like, man, this kind of nice here. I still believe in the right situation. He's still a 1,200-yard back. Can he go get you 1,500, 16? No. But there's no sense. Minnesota, I totally agree, Greg. Minnesota didn't need an $18 million back running behind a $10 million offensive line.
Right.
Okay. So I'm with Greg on this. This man, Adrian Peterson, I know him, have nothing but respect for him. He's on a very short list of guys I do not bet against.
Absolutely.
So I'm with you on that. But he has had 2 serious knee injuries, and those will continue to plague him as he goes forward. So we got into an issue earlier in the show that you need to weigh in on. We did the prospect of Adrian doing the reverse Brett Favre and going to the Packers, and you've done the other way around also. So you can relate to this. But what if Adrian goes to Aaron Rodgers? The stat that leaps out at me is that 95% of Adrian's career carries came out of the I formation with the quarterback under center and a lead blocker a fullback. 95%. And on the carries in which he was out of the shotgun, his career average falls precipitously. So you tell me, as much as he could help Green Bay, because they obviously have a big glaring Eddie Lacy-sized hole there at running back, and he's going to be a free agent. I don't know what they're going to do with him. But would Adrian Peterson help Aaron Rodgers to the point that Aaron Rodgers would submit to lining up under center, I don't know, 15 times a game, maybe more than usual?
I don't think he would fit their offensive scheme simply because of what you're saying. When you look at the Green Bay Packers, you look at the spread offense, Aaron in the shotgun, him doing play fake draw action with the back, them being able to catch out of the backfield. None of those things are Adrian's strength. When you look at Adrian, he wants to get the ball and run downhill. I played with him for 2 years. I played against him for 8, 9. I mean, 8. So he's one of those. He wants to hit the hole running downhill. And if you don't allow him to do that, it frustrates him because he knows his strengths. He knows what he brings to the table. He doesn't believe that. He doesn't want, no, I shouldn't say he doesn't believe that. He wants to be that guy that believes he can catch out of the backfield. He knows he doesn't have the greatest of hands, but do he feel like he can do it? Yes. But when you look at that situation, would it be alarming to an opposer? Absolutely, because you're looking at, I got Aaron Rodgers, I got Adrian Peterson, but when you're looking at it from a schematic standpoint, and how are you going to put these two pieces together to where they can function and be functional, I don't see that working because of the strengths of Aaron Rodgers and the strengths of Adrian Peterson. They're different.
When I look at it, I look at Aaron Rodgers has never had a running back of this caliber. So yeah, you cater to what Aaron does really well. I believe that if he had a back that can go get him 1,500, he would be under center more. I mean, he had 80 late. I mean, think about it. You took a guy that had number 88, and he's your every down back now, Ty Montgomery. I mean, you look at what he's had. He had what was the other guy? James Starks. None of these guys are Adrian Peterson.
No.
Now, let's just say for the sake of argument, as you mentioned, we trot out Adrian Peterson and Aaron Rodgers. You're not putting 8 guys in the box. You're not stocking the line of scrimmage and being disrespectful to Aaron Rodgers. Just a suggestion.
But here's the thing. I feel like it would – I definitely think they would make some adjustments because being in Green Bay and playing with Brett and us having Amon Green at the time, he can go under center, but then when we had – Aaron has never, other than Ryan Grant for 1 year, half a year at that, we've never had a running back. They've never had a running back. So he's never had to really stay under center.
Correct.
And I feel like it would make them predictable now. Because you're thinking, okay, I shouldn't say predictable. It would be interesting. It would be interesting.
I mean, what are they going to do with Eddie Lacy?
For me, Eddie Lacy is one of those situations where you have to let him do what he's going to do in the free agents market because before he was injured, we questioned his determination, his passion, his work ethic.
Yeah.
Is he going to stay in shape? Now you add an injury. You need to rehabilitate yourself. You need to make sure you're staying in shape. You have to stay ahead of the curve.
Greg, the P90X video, it broke, man. That's all that happened. I mean, get him another P90X. He's right back on it.
Well, let's talk about another all-time great. Yesterday, the Jets told 7-time Pro Bowler Darrelle Revis they plan on releasing him. Revis struggled this season and was arraigned a couple weeks ago after his alleged involvement in a physical altercation in Pittsburgh. So, Greg, how much do you think that Revis has left?
See, I still think he has seasons left. And it's predicated on whether he's willing to make the transition from cornerback to safety.
Thank you.
If he makes that transition, he's savvy enough, he's smart enough. He's always been one that we've never questioned coming up and making tackles and making hits on running backs. We don't question any of that. We don't question his smarts. All we question now is his ability to cover on an island. He's no longer in a position to do that. So I watched the guy who went to the Fountain of Youth and Charles Woodson make that transition and got better because he made that transition and was more comfortable because he was given more freedom. He can see everything. He can kind of loom and lurk. That's what you would want from a Darrelle Revis at this stage in his career. He's not the fastest guy anymore, but he still can catch the ball. He still is instinctive. He still can decipher and discern what offenses are trying to do. You want him in that position. Is he willing to make that transition? I think so, if he wants to continue to play. But he's not going to be the elite guy that we saw out on the outside covering one-on-one guys.
Greg, what's in here?
Heart.
He got to want it. He didn't show up last year. He showed up out of shape. And the hardest thing for an athlete, you know this, Greg, is to come to grips with your own mortality.
Absolutely.
In this game. And even as I started to slow as a player, and I knew I wasn't the same, had the same foot speed, I never would voice that publicly because I would never, ever give the defense an advantage to saying, I'm not that guy anymore. I'm still that guy. Even though I knew I wasn't. I couldn't do the thing. I couldn't go get 100 yards, 3 out of 4 games, Skip. I knew I couldn't do that, but I could still go make plays. Darrelle says, I'm not the same guy. Or I'm getting old. And then he would always, when someone would challenge him, he would always go back to what I used to be. Well, when you play sports currently, what you used to be doesn't help you win. It doesn't help you cover anybody now. Because so now, in the first game in Skip, I was like, well, you know what, Skip? Yeah, I mean, hey, he might not be that elite guy, but he's still Darrelle Revis, and that's A.J. Green. A.J. Green gonna give a lot of folks the business. Richard Sherman, doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. But then you saw Marquise Goodwin. Now you saw Malcolm Mitchell. Now you see second and third tier guys giving Darrelle Revis. You see guys taking their wives and girlfriends on honeymoons on Revis Island. That's not the same guy, and he didn't want it anymore. He got to want it. If he wants it, Skip, I believe he can transition and play safety. But if he doesn't, he's going to steal somebody's money.
So I'll go this far. I thought he quit last year. I thought he just basically showed up and, as you would say, collected checks.
Yeah.
That's quitting to me. That's just giving in and giving up. And yet, I'm going to defend him because after he won his ring and he went back to the Jets, what did he get, $39 million for 2 years? That's a lot of money. He got
$6 million guaranteed this year, even though they're going to release him.
Okay, but that first year back with the Jets, 2 years ago, he did make the Pro Bowl.
Yes.
And they went 10-6, but they barely missed the playoffs. And then last year, the bottom fell out of that football team, and it became a disastrous mess. And he did not want to be part of that mess. And he showed you with his body language on and off the field, he was just through with all that. But I am so with you that I believe what Antonio Cromartie, who's a close friend of Revis's, we had him on the show, I've talked to him off camera, he believes Darrelle has 2 good seasons left at safety, and that he's played safety in preseason for Todd Bowles and the Jets, and that they've messed around with it before, and that Revis, according to Crow, and Crow really knows that position, he's a smart guy, that Revis is really good at playing safety when he's done it in practice or in some preseason games, that he could be Rod Woodson or Charles Woodson.
Right.
He could be that guy. Well, does he want to be that guy? And now he faces a huge off-field issue, and that's, 4 felony counts now, 1 of aggravated assault. He's going to have to get through that first, and then he's going to have to find out what's in that cavity in there. Does he really want to do this? Because if he wants to, I don't think he could be good. I think he could be great at safety for a contending team.
Because when you look at guys like he and a Rod Woodson and a Charles Woodson, when you play the corner position, you focus on one side of the field. And then you learn to, whether you're a pattern read guy or you're a formation read guy. Now, when you back up from everything, you get to see everything like crystal clear. I mean, everything is like 3D now. Because now you know.
Yep.
Like, I know what they're going to do in this. And you could actually, Rod, we could run stuff in practice. And we can line up in a formation. And Rod would literally be standing where we're going to throw the football because he already knew. I was like, how do you?
Yes.
He's like, Shay, when you get in this formation, you guys are 100% of the time, you're going to run this route. And that's how Revis was. Revis is very, very instinctive.
He is.
He just doesn't have, I shouldn't say he doesn't, but for me, I just don't see the suddenness anymore. And as a safety, maybe he wouldn't have to be as sudden because when you play outside them numbers, for the most part, all those guys are sub 4.5.
They are. I agree.
Now
so in his heyday, did he cover you man to man?
He did.
Yeah.
He
and
did.
what happened?
He went with me everywhere, and it was like a chess match. I remember the last time I played against Revis, it was in Minnesota, and he followed me in the slot, and he literally played me on one side and force me to run,
release.
force me to take a different one release, only one way. Those are the types of things that most safeties aren't going to do. But he would do that to a tight end. He would be able to force that guy to only release one way.
Because he is naturally strong.
He
right?
is
Yes.
one of the strongest guys.
Body.
One of the strongest guy and most patient guy I've ever gone up against. The thing that you mentioned that begins to creep in as question is, how bad does he really want it? And you mentioned heart, because when you see a guy shut it down, I don't care who you are, what level you're playing at. Now as a teammate, I look at you regardless of how great you are.
Yep.
And
How great you were.
Or great you were, and now I question whether you would do this if we were winning or losing. Because if you would do it when we're losing, how can I count on you to pull us out of this rut?
It's a good question.
And how do you reboot yourself once you shut it down also?
Exactly.
Mentally.
And let alone going to a different team, like you mentioned with Adrian.
Exactly, to prove yourself all over again. No mercy. Welcome back. We're joined now by former NBA champion Glenn Big Baby Davis. Welcome to Undisputed.
Thank you for having me once again.
Yes, but you haven't been with us.
I wasn't with the big dogs. Yeah, put it like that.
Well, we're happy to have you, and we have to get your take on the big story of the day. The Warriors said Kevin Durant sprained his MCL and got a bone bruise last night against the Wizards. He had an MRI last night. He will be reevaluated in 4 weeks, but the Warriors are not ruling Durant out to play before the end of the regular season. So, Glenn, how will this impact Golden State if KD is out for the year?
You talk about a lot of scoring. You know, this is a guy who's definitely been scoring a lot in crucial situations. We're going to have to find out who's going to step up for that team. You know, Andre Iguodala, once again, your name has been called. I like Matt Barnes.
Do you?
I like Matt Barnes.
But he's not
He's
Kevin
not a
Durant.
scorer, though.
He's not a scorer, but at the same time, you got somebody who can fill that slot a little bit and do a little bit of everything. So I want to see how they adapt without the KD there. I want to see.
On Chris Broussard's podcast, you called Doc Rivers lucky as hell to win the 2008 title. Is this something that you thought at the time, or is this something that evolved once you got to the Clippers and how it ended between you and Doc in the Clippers?
Well, let's listen to Glenn on Chris Broussard's podcast before you answer that. Let's take a listen to it.
What Doc had in 2008 was special, and he was lucky as hell. Lucky as hell. The year before that, they was wearing trash bags.
He could have got fired. Nobody would have made a peep. Yeah.
Made a peep. But then the next year they win it. Now he's one of the bestest coach ever. I'm just not feeling that.
Is he overrated as a coach?
I think so.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
So he was a coach for 6 years. To Shannon's point, can you explain why you think he's overrated?
I got to see every day the process, not only with one team, but also another team.
Yep.
And then I went to another team, and I seen that he was trying to, emulate that 08 team. You know, he went to go get the Rasheed Wallace, like the Spencer Halls and the Mo Spates. You know, J.J. Redick comes off all the screen. That's a Ray Allen. He went to go get an old Paul Pierce. You know, Paul Pierce is great, but he's not the same Paul Pierce.
Right.
He's fishing for things that he once had, but at the same time, he's with another team. So being a coach, you have to adjust. You have to see, hey, you know what? I don't have a KG on my team, so this is what I need to do to be a better coach. And I think that he's so caught up in being the president that, hey, you need to be the coach. Danny Ainge was the president, and he got everything done the way it was supposed to be done. He didn't have to worry about that. Coach the game like you know how to coach. You're an X and O's coach. Get you a great defensive-minded coach like Thibodeau once again. Right. So I've seen the process. I know. I've been in the locker room when it was 3-1 against Houston and we lost. Yeah. So I see it. It's just the fact that does he see it? Does he see it?
Are you evaluating him as far as overrated? Are you saying he's overrated by today's standards, or are you trying to compare him to all-time greats? Is he Popovich? No, is he, So how are you judging him? What's the criteria or the standard in which you're using to judge him as being overrated?
I'm judging him of the things that he has and what he's doing with it.
Okay.
Because at the end of the day, coaches, you got to coach your team and put them in a situation to win. And I just think right now he can't figure it out. And I feel like right now that it's too much for him. So he's a little bit overrated.
So did you ever have any personal issue with Doc?
Man, I had I told him once upon a time, have I ever left you at the altar? Glenn Davis, yeah, he might be crazy emotional as a player, but he comes to play. He leaves it out there on the floor. And when you and a coach like that have a relationship like that, and you see it and you go through it, and especially my last couple of years, look at Brandon Bass. He's at the end of the bench. Josh Smith, career killers. You know what I mean? So it's just, he has to understand. I just think he has to understand, and it's too big for him right now. He has to let go some of that stuff and get another guy in there.
It seems to me that it's somehow become personal between you and Doc, because he said some things like one year you came in and they thought you were out of shape, and he said, and reporter asked him to say Glenn has lost weight, and he said it was like throwing a deck chair over the queen.
And you see what type of coach that is.
Yeah. And then and once again he said, he sent you to the locker room. He said you weren't emotionally ready to play. Has it become personal now? Is there something that you and Doc maybe should sit down and discuss?
Not really. My last year at the Clippers, I've never been so just treated badly in my life. You know what I mean? I broke my ankle, didn't know it was broke. They didn't even try to go find out if it was broke or not.
Okay.
And then now the following year when I try to go, I can't even get a job because my ankle's broke. Because the Clippers didn't do what they were supposed to do to make sure that, hey, Glenn Davis, get healthy to go get another job. They didn't do that. But is it personal? Yeah, because that's my livelihood.
Right.
But at the same time, I see everybody praising this man, and,
I'll say up front, I like Doc personally, and a lot of people like Doc personally. And I will say that in 2000, he won Coach of the Year in Orlando, so he's got that on his resume. And then Danny Ainge brings in the big three. They're all aging players, but they still had enough left that you go back-to-back finals, and you were in position maybe to win the second one against Kobe and company. And Kendrick Perkins got hurt, obviously, before Game 7. So I don't know if I can lay that all on Doc. He was pretty great managing the egos of those big players, a la Phil Jackson with the Lakers or with the Bulls.
KG, Paul Pierce, they managed. They ran. Yeah, Doc did. It trickled down, but the players ran it. Doc didn't have to do anything.
All right.
So were you? Go ahead. Skip.
No, that's all right.
So were you there when you guys had the lead against Miami, going back for Game 6 in the Garden, and LeBron had that historic day? Were you with the Celtics then? Or you had moved on to Atlanta?
Yeah, well, I was there. That was like the end of the ride. That was when LeBron them kind of, yeah.
You mean LeBron's last series in Cleveland? Is that what
No. We was with Miami.
Oh, with Miami. I'm sorry.
And he had that historical Game 6 in the Garden.
Okay.
I seen that game. I was there.
You saw it up close.
I watched it, and you watch LeBron and how they, was so hungry to beat us. They were so hungry to beat us, and Eric's supposed to put them in the right positions, and hey, LeBron delivered. And as a coach, Doc, you got to make adjustments. You got to see what fits you. 2010, Game 7, we lose Kendrick Perkins,
right?
But you play Rasheed Wallace the whole game.
He did.
And so now you don't have no rest. So now when they make that run, everybody's. He didn't make the right adjustments and the right substitutions. So,
What do you think about LeBron as a player? I'm always anxious to hear what players that played against him and the familiar. What do you think about LeBron?
I think he's a special player. You talk about 6'9", can pass the ball, can do a lot of things. But I feel like, he shows like he's the king. I just feel like it's a show every time. With KG and them, it was business. Right. It wasn't no show. We ain't showing off. We about to come out here and we about to whoop your butt. Other than that, I think he's a great player.
By the way, he witnessed a great game that LeBron had in Game 3 back in the Garden. Remember, this is 2010, the last series that LeBron had in Cleveland, and then Dan Gilbert accused LeBron of quitting in games 2, 4, and 6 of that series. Remember, that's what burned the bridge between Dan Gilbert and LeBron. And do you remember they just fell off the table in games 3, 4, and 5? You guys just took control back of the series. And then LeBron's people were putting out the story he had to be sedated before those games, which was a bunch of baloney.
The man had mop bucket, the man had a squeegee, and the man had a sponge playing. And he had, in the game 6, he had 27, 19, and 9, and they say he mailed it in.
What did you see, Glenn, in the game?
It was just too much pressure from us that time because we was locked in. We was locked in. We showed 5 to the ball. We made sure we crowded them every time. You know, we made them real frustrated. Real frustrated in those days.
So y'all made him give the ball up, huh?
Yeah, he had to.
It's amazing how they.
Yeah, but he's the best player on the planet. Why would he need to give the ball up?
That's what I said about Utah last night in Westbrook. But we talk about it. We'll get
Okay.
You're going to witness what's happening right now. Don't know if you know this. Shannon is a LeBron apologist. He sleeps in LeBron.
He is apologist.
He
is
sleeps
the right
in LeBron jammies every night. So, yeah. So you know that's what you're dealing with here. No mercy. USA Today is reporting the NFL's competition committee is meeting in Indianapolis to discuss loosening the rules on celebration penalties. Last year, there were 30 celebration penalties called, more than the previous 2 seasons combined. Shannon, let me start with you. Would this be a good move by the NFL?
You know how me and you was talking off camera, CC. Let me put it like this. I want the players to have fun, but there has to be a line, Skip. And all this twerking and the sexual and the thrusting, I can get away with it. No, we don't need to see that. Now they penalized Le'Veon Bell and Antonio Brown for shaking hands. Come on, really? I mean, you say it's the ultimate team game, but I can't celebrate with my teammate. Now which is it? Now you can't have it both ways. There's a situation, Skip. My last year, and I think it was my last year, I had a game, San Diego. We were playing at home, but it was like in November. I caught a touchdown. I went to the goal post and I picked up the phone like, I'm talking on the phone. Like, got me another touchdown, Grady.
You picked up a real phone?
No, it was I had a phone up to my ear like I had a real phone.
You had a real phone?
Like, in November. I'm like, Grady, I got me another touchdown. And I hung up. 1 month later, guess what Joe Horn did, CC? Watch what Joe Horn did now. I figuratively, like I was talking on the phone. Look at Joe Horn. Watch what he does, Skip.
Is this your biggest regret in your career, that he got attention that you deserved?
No.
Seriously.
But
I think it is.
That was the beginning of the NFL. So we got to do something with it. Because let me tell you what's going to happen. If the NFL let no holds barred, somebody's going to score a touchdown. Somebody calling the Uber. Somebody getting the Uber out of the game after they score a touchdown. See, you already know how. Look, I'm going to tell you something my grandfather told me and my brother. He said, boys, I got to put a limit on what I give y'all, because y'all two fellas won't put a limit on what you take from me. The NFL, you better put a limit on this, because if you don't, guess what, CC? You already know.
If we draw the line right here, say there's 32 teams. Most teams are starting at least 2 guys, so that's 64, typically 3. All right, so now we're getting into 96 of us.
You're talking about diva receivers.
Well, I'm just talking about wide receivers. If the line is right there, we gonna straddle the line. We're gonna be creative. And
are we gonna stand back like this at the line, CC, or are we gonna get over the line?
No. It's not gonna be Larry Fitzgerald and Barry Sanders handing the ball to the referee. No, it's not going. They are going to go beyond the line. So the NFL has a dilemma. Roger Goodell, Troy Vincent, game day operation is right in Troy's hands. It's right in his wheelhouse. And Troy's a very conservative guy. Now, I don't see Troy allowing this to happen unless they think it's beneficial for the players. Now, I think they're going to give them a little leeway because it's just got nerve-wracking as far as the socks fines, the cleats, and the lack of celebration. So they have to be able to give up something. Also, the NFL was peering over its shoulder, and they realized this last year. They can blame it on the election, but those ratings went down a little bit.
They did.
Several years ago, we had the concussion. The overall sign-up of youth football, it went down a little bit. So when you look over your shoulder and be like, okay, these are a couple things that have happened the last couple years. Going into the future, how can I maybe acquiesce to the players a little bit and bring a little more entertainment back into the game? We go to football games for entertainment. All right? I don't expect to be entertained after people score. Now, in the National Football League, it's the only league, because Little League you can't celebrate. High school you can't celebrate. College you can't celebrate. The NFL, when you get to the NFL, guys are excited because it's hard to score.
Very.
You know, so what am I allowed to do in the NFL? And they've just gone further and further and further that they had to put a lockdown on the players. So I think they're going to draw the line. I know my wide receivers. They're going to teeter the line and go across.
They are.
I talked to Odell Beckham yesterday. He's over in Europe training. AB, I got a message to him because he got that new money. So these two, I think, will still find themselves in the principal's office because of their overall creativity. And it's not going to be good for the game. Like, it's not going to be good. It's not going to make the product on the field better with guys celebrating more. The players say, okay, we want more freedom. No, you can control yourself, but you can't control those other 1,600 players in the league and what they're going to do, Skip.
So Saturday night before the Super Bowl, I'm sitting in my hotel room in Houston, Texas, and I turn on Fox, and I see my man Shannon Sharpe in, like, what were you, the third row maybe at the NFL Honor Show?
Yes.
And all of a sudden, Keegan-Michael Key comes on stage, and wait a second, what's he doing? He goes into his Hingle McCringleberry routine about how many pumps do you get, as in pelvic thrust.
Yes.
You're allowed 2 pumps, you can't have 3 pumps. And it's funny.
Yes.
But it's outrageous because I'm thinking, wait a second, he's being allowed to make fun of the No Fun League? Really? On national TV with Commissioner Goodell sitting in what, the second row, right?
Right behind him,
Right? And then
They do that strategically so you'll be in the camera shot.
Yeah,
you were in every shot.
Oh, yeah.
It was like that.
I was over his left shoulder a couple years ago.
He was doing. You're mugging for every camera shot.
But you know the commissioner they signed off on this now.
Okay, well, I know because then Keegan goes down into the aisle and he interacts with the commissioner about this, and they're like going, and obviously this was planned, but it was also spontaneous.
Right.
And I'm saying Goodell he's going to soften up on this maybe because of the ratings, maybe because they're taking so much abuse about being the no fun league. And yet, I am completely with you guys. Look, I've said this so many times. I loved what Chad Ochocinco did for the Cincinnati Bengals. And I know Chad, and he's a friend of mine. And I was highly entertained by the river dance and the Tiger Woods and the cheerleaders.
He went too far on the jacket.
Okay, it's just outrageous. And I took him to task on TV about that because you cannot, you want to talk about presumptuous? You're in the Hall of Fame? You made your own jacket? Really?
And he had 2,000 question mark.
Okay, it's over the line, but that was a personal thing where that was a bad idea.
T.O. with the Sharpie.
Yeah, I know.
T.O. with the
Okay, those are great. They're great.
Yes.
Because, listen, Chad Ochocinco, Chad Johnson, he's a gifted entertainer.
He is.
Those were clever. The
They
river
really
dance was great.
Yes.
It was funny, and it was so well executed.
Didn't he have one with a sombrero? Didn't he put a sombrero on one?
Yeah, he had a whole string of them. And I waited for it. I was like, oh, he scored. What, your edge of the seat. There was only one Chad Ochocinco. And if you open this up, the Pandora's box that's come one, come all, every receiver, running back, whoever scores, quarterback for that matter, they're all going to try to do something that they're not great at. Yeah. Can you top this? Can you top this? Can you top this? And after a while, it's going to just get lame, and lamer, right?
Yep.
And you can't let it run amok because we're in an era in which everybody's trying to promote their own brand.
Yep.
Yes.
And you can't allow every individual brand to be promoted on the field as much as we like to see.
I don't want, and I tell people all the time, I don't want 1,600 Odell Beckhams.
Yeah.
I don't want 1,600 Tom Brady's either.
No, you don't.
What bothers me when people you hear these old timers and some fans say, act like you've been there. Well, let me ask you this. How many times have you gone on vacation? And every time you go on vacation, what they do, CC? They take pictures. Well, act like you've been on vacation before and stop taking all these pictures. I worked all week long trying to come up with a way to get in the end zone. They call these plays, and every play is designed to score a touchdown. But there's no guarantee it's gonna happen. Right. So I'm just supposed to, all this hard work, I done labored it. I got to do something.
Yeah, I believe you should be able to do something.
But like you said, Doc, all this section, and look, the 6-shoot, the Bush Johnson, the 6-shooter.
But you can't do weapons in this era. And you can't do
pelvic thrust.
Right.
You can't do that.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, but now where do we push the line to? Okay, what's the next step? What do you open it up to?
Can we do the bump? Can we do the bus stop?
Man, these kids, they don't even know what it is. This is my biggest problem. And I just went on a vacation with 32 Hall of Famers in Cabo and 32 current players. The current players don't care about the money. They don't care about the fine.
The fine money. Yeah.
I mean, they don't care. So if you institute this rule, you have to realize that the penal part, the end part, is supposed to be the corrector for kids.
The deterrent.
They don't care about it.
Do they care about 15 yards?
No.
Well, only the coaches can make them care about that and their teammates. Because you move that kicker back 15 yards, and it's a bad weather day, you kick that ball short, and that ball's coming back at you, yes, it should affect the team. They should understand how it affects the team. But I know they don't care about the money, so they will go to extreme measures to be fined or to be entertaining.
I didn't get fined a lot for celebrations. I got fined for uniform because I felt that, my socks, I wanted my socks a certain way, and now you can have your jersey cut at the waist where when I played, the jersey had to stick in. And so, I had my jersey altered. But like CC said, it didn't matter how much they fined me. I felt that if I had to have my jersey tucked in the whole game, I wasn't going to play well. If my socks covered my knees, I wasn't going to play well, Skip. So there's not an amount of money, well, there was an amount of money they could have fined me to make me pull these socks up. But for the most part, Skip, look, I don't want to see you shaking your tail. If I want to do that, then I go to the gentleman club. I don't want to see you out there doing all this crazy stuff. But if you want to, teammates come in and we hug it out, we shake hands and stuff like that, I got no problem with that. But when you start coming with this suggestive and all this sexual stuff, nah, I ain't coming to see you twerk, bro.
So last year they flagged snow angels. I got no issue with snow angels.
Got none either.
I'm good, right?
Yeah.
And they also flagged, I know you're not supposed to use the ball as a prop, but I figured who did it just shot it like it's a basketball. It's like, okay, shoot it back to the referee.
Right.
Vernon Davis did it.
Yes.
Right,
Dunking over the goal, they stopped the dunking over the goalpost because Jimmy Graham bent the goalpost.
Right.
So they say, dude, you holding up the game for 30 minutes.
The other thing is, too, how much will enough be enough for the players? What will they do to finally be like, something, I've seen enough.
Didn't I just tell you what my grandfather told me and my brother?
Uh-oh.
I got to put limits on what I give.
I told you, man, only one
one per
down
topic.
south hillbilly tale per show.
Well, that was his one today. The problem is it's not limited to just receivers, though. You have the defensive players doing
When they get a
this.
sack, what they going to do?
Exactly.
Oh, they're going to do a sack dance. They
But this
got
is-
to.
this
You
has
get a
been
pick,
part
what
of
you
the
gonna
game.
do?
It's gotten to the point where it's annoying for fans. The penalties, every single thing, like you mentioned, is a penalty. It's just exhausting.
You got to shoot the arrow.
How much more difficult does it make for the referees?
So what do I put? Yeah, what do I throw a flag on?
Because it's already hard for them. Now,
It's a judgment call for them, but I do think the NFL needs to relax a little bit because the fans are starting to get annoyed with the constant penalties.
Okay,
What
so
is
the
a
problem
penalty,
becomes,
what's not?
what's a little bit?
Yeah.
Well, that's what they have to figure out. That's what they're working
See,
on today.
your little bit and my
All
little
of
bit.
it's interpretation.
Because AD, he only got a little bitty booty. When he do it a couple times, that's just still a little bit.
No mercy. This is the Skip and Shannon Undisputed podcast, where we're delivering you an unscripted, unfiltered, undisputed version of the biggest topics of the day's show. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on iTunes, like us on Facebook at Undisputed on FS1, follow on Twitter at Undisputed, and catch us at 9:30 a.m. Eastern, 6:30 Pacific, Monday through Friday on FS1. You can find us on channel 219 on DirecTV, 150 on Dish. Thanks for listening, everyone. I'm your host, Joy Taylor. That's it for us today. We come back tomorrow with Hall of Famer Chris Carter, host of In the Zone podcast, Chris Broussard, and Rob Parker. We'll see you then.
Fox Sports, one of one.